Hey guys, so as communicated last time, you guys currently have an assignment where you are working on the timber joining techniques, making the first part of timber content. Today we're going to do the second part of timber, which covers this uh, topics here, and I have the links adjacent to the content to the topics here. This is a series of videos from the same source. They called Timber Technology. So Timber Technology 1, 2, 3, 4. They actually cover a lot of this in a video format. So uh, please use this set of slides, so lectures alongside this. Go check out this links on YouTube. So let's get to it. First, we need to look into the wood structure and anatomy, timber structure and anatomy. And the reason why we need to do that is because wood is a natural product of the growth of trees. That means the properties that we look for in wood when we want to make our products. Those properties are a result of the structure and the anatomy of the tree. So understanding the structure and the anatomy helps us understand the properties that we desire from wood that are suitable for different products. So the growth then of a tree, it takes place two times in a year. There is what you call a spring growth and a summer growth. A spring growth is the largest part of the growth ring, and it's sometimes called, or alternatively called, sapwood, which is this one here, the lighter part of the rings. And then the summer growth is referred to as the hardwood, which is the darker part of the tree. So these two together, because it grows twice a year, the spring growth or summer growth, together they form a growth ring. And the rest of this just shows you the structure of a tree from the outside to the inside. Then, in terms of thickness of the rings, they tell us the conditions under which the tree grew. So, if the conditions were bad, that is translated into the tree by having thinner growth rings. And if the conditions were good, there was rain and good temperature, the rings are a bit wider. And in terms of shape, that tells you whether there were winds, strong winds, or the resulting in a tree growing leaning to a particular side. Moving on to the classification. So there are only three main classes of wood, and these are hardwood, softwood, and manufactured boards. And just to mention here, by hardwood or softwood, it has nothing to do with the properties of wood itself, but rather it tells us the biological origin of the wood. The reason for that is because most of the time, all softwood is not necessarily soft, neither hardwood is necessarily hard. Then going into each group specifically and characteristics of each. The hardwoods are characterized by the type of trees, or they come from the type of trees with broad leaves. Then these are the type of trees which lose or shed their leaves in winter. And the typical applications. On the other hand, the soft woods are characterized by the leaves that are more thorny or thin, like this one. And these are the type of trees which do not lose their leaves in winter. Hence, sometimes they are called the evergreen trees. So they are coniferous type of trees. And again, with this ones, some examples and applications as well that you also can go through as you're going through the slides. Then the manufactured boards. These ones are the man-made boards like plywood, and some common examples that you might know. The key thing or the characteristic thing about manufactured board is that they are made by gluing different layers or pieces of wood together, and their strength relies on the strength of the type of glue that they use to put this material together. Moving on to conversion of timber. So to convert timber means the process of cutting the trees into usable form. And there are different patterns which are commonly used to cut the trees, and the key thing it has to do with sustainability a lot. Like, if you, as you can tell here, they're trying to leave as little as possible wood from a tree trunk. So there are different ways of cutting it so that you can get the most out of it. Just as a general consideration or a general point of discussion, converting timber facilitates it to dry faster, facilitates the drying process, also enables grading, and it makes it easy to transport, and many other reasons. The main cutting methods that they commonly use are these three: the plain sawn one, or which is sometimes referred to as a through and through cutting. Through and through, in that the cuts are just along the length of the log. That's why it's called a through and through. And then the other method is the quarter sawn one. The log is cut at 90 degrees as shown here, and then you remove like 4/4. Then the other one would be the rift one. This one, as opposed to or compared to the previous one, the cuts are at angles between 45 to 75. The typical factors which determine the type of cut would be economic reasons, would be the size of the log itself, it would be the conditions and the end result that you're going to use the wood for. And there could be more than these reasons. I just put a few there for you guys to kind of have a broad understanding of what factors determine the type of cut. Then moving on to seasoning of timber. This refers to the process of removing water content from the timber. And you can do that through natural means or artificial means, and the choice will depend on the cost and the time scale as well, because different processes take different time. Why is it necessary to remove moisture from wood? For, for many reasons, such as to reduce its weight, to help resist decay, and this is one of the big things, because if there's no moisture in the wood, there isn't room, or you're depriving the microbes and the insects the moisture to live in the wood. So it helps to prevent the decay in that way. It also helps to reduce the chance of shrinkage or warping, and it increases the workability. You work easily, you can cut it more easily, you can work with it easily if it's dry as compared to being wet or with a lot of moisture. So there are, as we've seen, different methods of removing water from timber. I hope this is clear enough for you guys to see, but we did say that you can do that through natural means or artificial means. The natural means are water or air seasoning, while the artificial ones would be boiling chemicals, baking it, or electrical means. And we're going to look at all this in detail, starting with the air one. So basically, this method involves staking wood up or the logs up, and then in a structure that has a shelter to prevent or to cover the wood from rain, but open walls such that there is airflow, air circulation to help dry the wood. The water process involves the logs being submerged in water, but not too long, just enough to remove the sap from the wood, and then it's taken out so it can dry afterwards. But this is key, that's why it's called the water seasoning, because it has to be submerged in water to remove that sap. Then the boiling one, it's a bit difficult to boil timber. So what they commonly do is pass the steam through the logs in an enclosed room. Then the chemical one, what they do is stack it up in a machine, a container such as this one, and then close it. In there, they pump salt solution, which helps absorb the water from the timber. Then there's electrical one. This one also known as a rapid seasoning. It's very quick in that the timber is subjected to high frequency alternating current to help it with the drying process. And the last but not least is the kiln one, where the timber is baked in a large airtight room by heating coils and fans. Those are the different methods of seasoning. Then preserving timber. This one is more of what is done to the timber when it is a product already, in that it looks into different ways of protecting it. So why would you want to preserve timber? It's because you want your products to last long, and then you want to protect from insects as well, and it's cost efficient, and you want to build resistance, and many other reasons. So there are various methods of preserving timber, but the common ones are the coal tar method, or by just simply painting it, or using chemical salts method. Methods of application involve brushing, spraying, or injecting this material under pressure, or sometimes they dip these products into these chemicals.